your life can be anything. It has so much potential. Hey, how y'all doing? It's Chey. It's been a little bit, so I wanted to catch y'all in and catch y'all up in what's been going on in my life and some stuff that I've been dealing with, stuff I've been facing, and how I've been facing it, or rather challenges that I've run up against. So, since last time we talked, I did mention that I had a few sort of freelancing gigs lined up, nothing like a steady kind of 9-to-5 job, but more freelancing side gigs here and there. Those have worked out very well. I'm not raking in a large amount of Elon Musk cash, but it's enough that I'm comfortable, I'm happy with it. So without getting too much into it and revealing too much, I do some assistant work for engineers, whether in the studio or just mixing, and I also do some live sound gigs for some local venues whenever they just need the odd event here or there, maybe a speaker, maybe just a tiny little concert. I do some live events for them. I do all sorts of event and production work for them, whether it's moving chairs, moving tables, helping run the stage, all that kind of jazz. It's a good gig. They really just call me when they need me and I show up. And I am loving the people there. The staff is incredible. Everyone is so much fun to work with. And I'm getting to put my skills to work. As for what else I've been up to, I've been writing a lot of future videos, been trying to come up with some future video ideas, as well as filming some videos, as you have seen. I've also really been taking a lot of time to work on my writing and work in small increments towards bigger goals that I want to accomplish this year, habits that I want to implement. But mostly, besides actual working and doing YouTube stuff, I've mostly been writing. I think I've written close to 200,000 words this year, so... and we're not even through with the year, so... I have a master doc that I'm putting everything that I'm writing in this year so I can tally up the total word count at the end of the year. I'm going to make a video at the end of this year going over the results of my goals, what went right, what didn't go quite as right, what I changed, and what I accomplished. I'm definitely going to be including the total word count for my writing in that video because I had a goal of 50,000 this year and I have clearly totally blown that out of the water already. So if you're curious for what the total count's going to be in about 2 months, check that video out. Overall, mostly working on engineering stuff, working on YouTube stuff, writing, reading, trying to get in better shape, mentally and physically. So let's talk about some of the challenges that I have come up against and things that I have realized about myself in this process. One good thing I will say is I have been more inspired than ever to be making things lately. I don't know where it's come from. I think it's from actually getting to make things and seeing the finished product that's been driving me to continually make more. I love little contained projects. If and when I can actually get started on something, I love seeing the end result. I love the process of working on it and then seeing what becomes of it. Lately, I have been lucky enough to have the time and resources to work on a couple of projects and see the end results of them, and be really happy with them. Case in point, my Beartooth video. The video where I read Beartooth's graphic novel and kind of made little short film aspects with it, that was so much fun to do. I don't care how cheesy it looks, I don't care how ridiculous it is, it was so much fun to do. I had the best time, and I love how it turned out. I worked my butt off on that video, and I love every single second of it. And it's projects like that that are just fueling me to keep making more because this is what I want to do. So that's the good aspect. Now we come to the challenges that I realize I've been facing or butting up against. Whether it be creating something, a project, or just a habit, working on a habit, I have realized that I don't want to start something until I feel I have everything I need to accomplish said thing. If I don't feel ready in every single aspect to take on X, Y, or Z, then I don't feel ready to start it. I don't want to start it. I don't think I can or should start it. A smaller example, but this will get the point across, with working out. I don't want to start a workout until my phone is fully charged. Why? Often because I go on a walk as like a warm-up for my workout, then I do my actual workout, And walking and listening to music, listening to Spotify, or calling a friend takes a lot of that battery. And so I feel it's better to start at 100% rather than start on a random percent and risk the chance of it dying before I start my workout, which I'm going to need my workout app for. But while I'm waiting on my phone to charge back to 100%, or at least a very high percentage, I just sit there and I'm waiting on my phone. I don't want to get started on anything else because I'm like, no, I need to wait for this because then I'm going to do this, so I don't want to get invested in this other thing when I'm just about to have to go and do this thing. So it applies to minor things like working out, but it goes all the way up into actual creative projects, to actual work. I feel like I need to have all my ducks in a row, to put it plainly, which it's not true. I can start anyway, and I've been trying to initiate and work through these feelings rather than just letting them take over. And it works better in some situations more than others. Because some things I do have to fully be prepared for, or have the resources for. But other things, like the working out thing, I can just go ahead and start it. Another challenge, which is a tale as old as time, has been my perfectionism, which sort of relates to this first challenge of needing to be prepared or almost over-prepared. With this perfectionism, it's not that everything has to be completely flawless, but it's me having exceedingly high expectations for the ending product of whatever it may be. And if I don't feel like it's going to reach those expectations, it almost comes down to why even bother? And then that usually relates back to the first challenge, because my brain goes, okay, well, what do we need to be prepared? What do we need in order to reach those full expectations? Why even start if we're not going to end up with the ultimate ending that we want, that we desire? And what do we need to achieve that? Why not wait until we have all that ready? Why not wait until all that's prepared? And so I end up waiting or not doing anything, stuck in waiting mode, as a lot of people call it, for the perfect circumstances, the perfect timing, or just having all my ducks in a row. But the truth is that there really is no perfect timing, at least for most things in life. You gotta go ahead and do them, for the most part. And that's what I've been trying to teach myself. It's what I've been trying to act on. Like, with the Beartooth video, I had super high expectations. I had this whole vision in my head of different segments I wanted to do, different, even animations that I wanted to do, but truthfully, that was never gonna happen. At least not within my budget, not within any very soonish time frame. So I went ahead and did what I could with what I had, and I ended up a lot happier than I ever expected to be because of those high expectations. I put them on the shelf, and I said, hey, let's go ahead and do it anyway and see where it takes us. Let's make do with what we have, do the best we can, and let's just have fun with it. I am constantly trying to over-prepare and over-perfect because I, related to my ADHD or not, I have a history of making what's called careless mistakes, or just not my full potential. And so it's like these challenges are trying to help me overcompensate, because it's like, I know I'm going to screw up somewhere, I know there's going to be flaws, so if I over-prepare and have super high expectations, chances are I'll land somewhere around still great, not quite as perfect as I want, but still great. Because if I just shoot for great, I'm going to land at mediocre. I have to over-prepare and over-plan and set my expectations even higher. That way I can land just slightly below it and still be okay, or at least feel okay. But again, that's not true. It's ridiculous. But it's just a frame of mind that I've found myself running into, and I'm working on it. I'm working on being comfortable with imperfection, and I'm doing it in small ways. As a writer, I am constantly wanting to write. I'm constantly coming up with ideas in my head for either plot lines or dialogue or just small scenes. And sometimes I don't have writer's block, but I don't have the juice in me to really write well or as good as I feel I usually do. Like, I'll write something and I'm like, this is crap. Like, I feel like this is absolute garbage, but I have the idea in my head and I want to get it down. Now, I may used to just kind of jot the idea down and be like, oh, I'll write it later. Now, trying to get comfortable with imperfection or my high expectations, I go ahead and I write it anyway. even if I feel like the writing is garbage or it's trash, I go ahead and I write it anyway, because I can always go back and revise it. I can always go back and change it. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. It doesn't have to be perfect in general. Nothing has to be perfect, because perfect is objective. Subjective? Perfection doesn't really exist. Or again, take for example, the Beartooth video. I worked on masking for about 10 hours, maybe, total. I did a lot of editing on that video, but masking for the green screen took the most time, and eventually there were just two or three little places where there might have been a sliver of showing through the screen, but eventually I just said, you know what, it's not perfect, but I'm not going to sit here for 3 more hours and try and dial it in. I'm not going to sit here and burn my retinas to the core. It's fine. Because it was tiny. It was like this much of the screen. But in my brain, it's like, and this goes to a third challenge, if I'm not overworking myself, then I don't care enough. And I think this kind of ties into the productivity as self-worth aspect, as in what you put out is how much you're worth, how much you get done is how much you're worth. And that's a whole thing I struggle with, that I don't see myself breaking completely of that mindset anytime soon, just because that's so ingrained in American culture and society in today's time, but I'm working on it. Like I said, I have found that my usual, which is working very hard, usually ends me up at mediocre, because I make some mistakes along the way, I make some flaws along the way that aren't careless, but maybe just slip by me, they slip through the cracks. So I've gotten into the habit of, over the years, of overworking myself with overpreparedness. That way I can reach great instead of just mediocre. I make up for the flaws in overachieving. It's like plugging holes in a leaking ship. It never ends, and it doesn't really solve the problem, but we're staying afloat somehow. So it's time to actually repair the hull of the ship, and part of that is, again, the dealing with imperfection and becoming comfortable with imperfection in small ways. And tying that into, if I'm not overworking myself, I don't care. That's another ridiculous belief that is absolutely not true. I guess I tie overworking in relation to caring because of my history of careless mistakes. Because I always, like I said, worked very hard, and yet I would still end up with these careless mistakes, even though I cared very much and I worked very hard. So it's like, the more I work, clearly the more I care, the less I'm going to make those careless mistakes. If I got something wrong, or if I didn't do something as well as someone liked, or if I didn't achieve quite what I wanted to achieve in whatever standard or whatever it may be, it's because I didn't care enough. That standard got started for me real early. And it's a ridiculous concept. It's so off. Yes, there is laziness, and yes, there's not putting in effort, but working yourself to the bone does not equate caring so much that it's going to directly correlate to something being perfect. That's not how it works. More often than not, it leads to burnout. You can care very much about something and not overwork yourself or burn yourself to the ground. Just like you can overwork yourself and not care about something at all. People do it all the time when they work overtime at their 9-to-5 jobs. They're overworking themselves, but oftentimes more than not, do they actually care? No, because it's a job. That's also not to say that it's wrong to have high standards or to work, or that it's wrong to work super hard to achieve the things that you want to achieve, the standards that you set for something. But I feel like, in my case, and in general, people should be cautious about the balance of that. Just taking care of yourself. Because yes, you can work hard to achieve those standards or those achievements, whatever, but it's not worth burning yourself out all in one go for it. It's not worth giving yourself the mental and emotional breakdown for it. When you could achieve it, maybe it needs time, or maybe it needs a different set of circumstances than the one that you're currently in. It doesn't mean you can't do it. Maybe it just means that there needs to be another way. A lot of times it's just about finding the balance between taking care of yourself, doing what's best for you, and doing your best. And there is a balance. Because if you're not doing what's best for you, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to do your best work. But as for overworking, I'm trying to take more breaks. I'm trying to toss up what I'm doing day by day. I try not to work for too long on any one thing or get too sucked into any one thing at a time. I'm trying to take things in more bite-sized pieces. Though, if I'm really feeling like working on something, if I feel really in the zone, I feel really in the flow, I just let it go. I let it happen, I work on it. But if it's starting to stress me out, I don't keep going. I find a stopping point, and I make it a point to say, hey, let's put the brakes on this, we'll come back later. Which is new for me, because usually I just want to work through it, I just want to get it done, I want to get the torture over with. I turned something that I really enjoyed or was really excited about into this stressful thing of like, oh, let's just get it over with. This goes for reading a book, it goes for editing a video, it goes for writing, it goes for working out, everything. I turn things I enjoy into a chore because of my high expectations and the stress that puts on me to achieve them, because anything less than perfection or my high standards is not good enough for me. Why am I doing it at all then? And that's not true. The point of doing something that you enjoy is for the enjoyment of it, not the product of it. It's not for the arbitrary standard of perfection of it. And I hate turning things that I enjoy into a chore. So I'm trying to take more breaks. I go do something else, I walk away, I look at my phone, I listen to music, I do something different. So then, after my brain has sort of calmed down and transitioned and switched off, I look back at the thing I was just doing that was starting to stress me out, and I ask myself, number one, okay, what elements of the thing were stressing me out? Number two, I reevaluate all the achievements that I wanted to accomplish and all the expectations that I had at the beginning. Number three, I start listing what I can actually realistically do and accomplish, or what I feel is realistic. Number four, I start to make a game plan for going back and trying out these realistic things, trying to accomplish them one by one. I break it down step by step, and I try and work through it and take it at a brick by brick pace rather than just charging head on at it like a bull. It's kind of hard to set lower expectations for myself in anything because I am such a big idealist, I'm such a big dreamer, but that's something that I'm working on too. And it goes hand in hand with the imperfections, being comfortable with them. But in the next video, look forward to coming along with me on achieving some of these goals and seeing where I'm at and all the progress that has happened and a few things that have changed since the beginning. I'm excited to show y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't heard it from anyone else today, I love you. Love and peace. Until tomorrow.